Ambassador Satterfield, I was disappointed that you had to cancel your meeting with me, which I would have looked forward to going through a series of things. So I came to the hearing to ask you them. Let me start off with, do you acknowledge that from 1915 to 1923, nearly 1.5 million Armenian men, women, and children were killed by the Ottoman Empire?
We are certainly aware, Senator, of the facts of that atrocity.
So you acknowledge it, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you acknowledge it as a genocide?
Senator, the President has stated this is one of the most horrific atrocities in the 20th century, and I will abide by those remarks.
It undoubtedly is an atrocity. The question is it a genocide?
Those remarks stand as a reflection of the U.S. government's position, sir.
All right, so you won't tell me it's a genocide. Let me ask you this. Do you acknowledge that in 1915, the Allied powers of England, France, and Russia jointly issued a statement explicitly charging, for the first time ever, another government of committing crimes against humanity and civilization?
I'm a historian, sir, and well aware of the events at that time.
So you acknowledge that fact. Do you acknowledge that Henry Morgenthau, the United States ambassador to the Ottoman Empire at the time, said that the Turkish government's deportation order for the Armenians was, quote, a death warrant to a whole race, in a name which they made no particular, and in a way in which they made no particular attempt to conceal their discussions with him?
I'm aware of that quote, sir.
Thank you. So this is an inartful dance that we do as a nation, in which we do not recognize the historical fact that even the U.S. Holocaust Museum, which is a quasi-governmental entity, acknowledges the facts of the Armenian genocide, but we are incapable of mouthing the comments of an Armenian genocide, and we cannot ultimately move to the future. We cannot recognize the past as a simple reality. And so I just bring to your attention that Senator Cruz, a member of this committee, and I, along with others, have introduced a resolution to ensure the foreign policy of the United States reflects appropriately the understanding and sensitivity and the reality of what was an Armenian genocide, and I commend it to your attention. Let me turn to the S-400. You've spoke about this quite a bit. I appreciate your comments, but it is my hope, and Mr. Chairman, I'd like to include in the record a op-ed that the chair and ranking member of this committee, myself and Senator Risch, along with the chair and the ranking member of the Senate of the Senate Armed Services Committee, wrote together, Senator Risch and Senator Inhofe and Senator Reid, in which basically we say Turkey must choose. I'd like it to be included in the record at this time.
Without objection.
I hope that President Erdogan clearly understands that the U.S. is not bluffing. I helped write CATSA. It's not a question of if, it's a question that it will face sanctions. And if it does, which I don't seek, it's going to hit the Turkish economy hard. It's going to rattle international markets. It's going to scare away foreign direct investment. It's going to cripple Turkey's aerospace and defense industry. So I expect that I can rely upon you, if you are confirmed, to make it very sure to President Erdogan that he understands the risk and the implication of this deal in an unvarnished way.
Without question, sir.
Let me turn to the question of democratic backsliding in Turkey. I'm alarmed by the rapid and sharp decline of human rights in Turkey. It's leading the world in the most jailed journalists. Recently, Human Rights Watch reported Turkey is arbitrarily jailing hundreds of lawyers. Now, that's something that I expect from oppressive regimes like Tajikistan. I don't expect it from a NATO ally. Your written testimony makes notes of this trajectory, which is a good starting point, but what will you do specifically to engage the government of Turkey to reverse this trend, if confirmed?
Senator, the U.S. mission in Turkey, all of our posts, have in their outreach, in their contacts, in their physical presence at certain proceedings, registered very clearly the United States supports a very different vision of how rights and liberties should be practiced in any democracy, including in Turkey. We have not hesitated to speak directly about our concerns to the most senior members of the Turkish government, and I assure you, if confirmed, I will continue to do so, as will the mission in Turkey.
Finally, this is less of a question, but more of a rejoinder to something you said that I agree with. Turkey continues to detain U.S. citizen and embassy employees. And I appreciate in your written testimony that you underline and confirm you'll be clear with the government of Turkey this is unacceptable and to urge swift and fair resolution. Bogus charges against an essentially hostage-taking of U.S. citizen and mission employees is not what we expect of a NATO ally. And they should be very clear in understanding that this is another irritant in our relationship. You don't take our people and arbitrarily and capriciously jail them at the end of the day and use them as hostages. It's just not acceptable anywhere in the world, and it's certainly not acceptable of a NATO ally. Let me turn to Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford, Tom Quinn is a pain in the neck. And so
I agree.
Yeah, there we go. So we can agree on a little Irish humor there. If he came to me one more time about your nomination, you might have never had a hearing at the rate he was going, but I'm glad you're here today. And I just want to say I have been involved in Irish issues for a long time. In the 27 years I've been in Congress, I was one of the leaders of the ad hoc Irish caucus in the House of Representatives. We got Bill Clinton to give Jerry Adams his first visa to the United States to move away from the gun and the bomb and to follow a path of peace. That ultimately led to the Good Friday Accords. And so there's a lot at stake here beyond the economic realities that we have with Ireland. There's a lot at stake if, in fact, we don't have a resolution, a good resolution as it relates to Brexit. So I hope that you will be committed to making sure that we solidify, whatever happens, the resolution of the Good Friday Accords, the commitment to our efforts for peace and justice in Northern Ireland. Do I have that commitment from you?
Yes, I will.
And I hope that you will commit to me that you will, in fact, meet before you leave to Ireland, if confirmed, with American civil society leadership here.
Yes, I will.
And finally, I ask you to maintain a direct line with me as Ireland moves through this potentially tumultuous period of time. Do I have that commitment from you?
Yes, I'd appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you very much. Ms. Byrnes, I have questions for you, but since I'm going to see you in Greece, I'll ask you there, but I'll submit them for the record. But primarily, I want to know how you'll be involved in following up on the accords that were reached in order to perform what we hope for Macedonia. I appreciate your career service.